Hello folks, we're back out of Dad's shop today and we got another box to open up here. It actually is a box that was brought here by a good friend of our family. Him and his wife have basically been an aunt and uncle to me the whole time I was growing up. I didn't even know that they weren't my aunt and uncle until I was an older kid because they were just always part of the family. And he was out helping clean up the estate of a cousin or an uncle, I don't remember exactly what he said, that had passed away. And while he was out there cleaning stuff up, he was in an old barn and looked up and said, "That looks like the bottom of a lantern," and asked if he could have it, and snagged it and brought it here to us. So we're gonna open it up and see what's in here.
It says on the box, what's it say up there?
It says to Luke and Leo, and then in smaller letters, and Larry. So I think Dad was an afterthought and they just added something on for him. Didn't want him to feel bad that he didn't get anything. So this is what they threw in for Dad, so that he'd have something to go in there too. But
I'll look at that. I haven't started collecting tractors yet.
the part for me is this old lantern. And I glanced in there at it, but I haven't even checked it out close. We'll set that off to the side and we'll look in here. There's something for Leo too. I don't know where exactly he found a Coleman lantern dog toy. So he bought that to give to Leo. He'll probably destroy that in short order. Here you go, Leo. Look. Want that? Well, here, get a hold of it. There we go. He'll take that off and chew it up somewhere. Alright, let me get the camera set back over here and we'll take a better look at this lantern. Okay, right off the bat, it is dirty and crusty. It looks like it's been hanging in a barn somewhere for a long time. But I can tell right off the bat by looking at it, it's an early 220. It's like a 220B, maybe. It's got the threaded on cap for the pump instead of either the newer ones either had screws or a bail. So it's like a 220B or C model. I'll look at the bottom of it here. On the bottom, looks like 3 and 3. I don't know if the camera can pick that up at all, but both sides have a 3. So that is making me think that this is a March of 1943. It's pretty crusty. There's quite a bit of rust there,
or something.
but there's nothing there that makes me think that it's rusted through or thin where I'm concerned about trying to get it going. It's missing a little screw out of the 2-piece or 3-piece cap, they call it. Missing a little screw out of there, but I have got some of those in my little toolbox at home. I just didn't grab it and bring it with me. It also has a weird nut on the top of it. That definitely is not the Coleman ball nut that belongs on there. And it's not even the right threads. You can see the threads are chewed up in it because it was a fine thread and they just stuck it on there to make it work with some kind of a little spacer under it. But I've got a correct ball nut at home that'll fit this too, so it's a newer style, but it'll thread right on there. Let's take a little closer look at this glass. I thought it was cracked. When I first was glancing at it, I thought that was a crack going down right there, but it isn't. It's just dirt. And I'll get it cleaned up to see if you can see it better, but it looks like a straight line Pyrex glass, which would be the correct glass for that, and then you can, I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but straight line Coleman on that side.
I'll work on that for you.
It is dirty. Got remnants of some old Silk-Lite mantles on here. I'll have to pop those off of there. I'm gonna go dispose of those in the garbage. If I throw them on the floor for Dad to sweep up later, Leo will probably eat them. Last thing we need is for Leo to eat radioactive mantles and turn into some kind of a radioactive superhero dog or something.
Spider-Man dog.
Yeah, he's enough of a pain as it is. Before I do too much more cleaning, I'm gonna see if I can get that off of there, get the fuel cap off, check it out, see what the inside of the tank looks like, and get that pump off of there. Oh, well, the pump came right off. That turned easily. Let's see what the pump looks like. Oh, pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty darn good. So I'll soak that in a little bit of Marvel Mystery Oil while we're working on getting the fuel cap off of there. I'll get the old brown towel and wrap around the fuel cap, even though it's already kind of rusty and a mess. No sense in leaving plier marks on it. Ooh, that is really tight. Yeah, don't scrub too hard on that, especially where the words are. I'm pretty sure those old words will scrub right off of there if you hit them too hard. Yep. Oh my gosh, that cap is tight and turning hard all the way off of there. That's not a great sign. And the inner part of the cap is still stuck on there. Typically the screw that was through there, once you get it backed off a little ways, would pull that off of there, but all right, that wasn't too bad. Gasket looks decent-ish on there. I think it might work. And let's see what, actually, I brought my little scope camera with me. We'll look down the inside of the fount with that and see what it looks like inside of there. Okay, plugged in my little scope camera here. I got the light turned on it. I'm going to set it to record, if I can remember how to do that. Video, start. There we go. Let's have a look in here and see what the inside looks like. Ooh, kind of crusty. Kind of crusty on the pump tube coming down there. The bottom looks rusty, but I don't see, like, that's the edge. I don't see loose rust. It's all rust stuck to the side of the fount and the bottom. But boy, that pickup tube, that looks kind of rough. I might have to flush that out a little bit before I start using this. Well, before I worry too much about the rust inside the tank, maybe we'll just see if everything else on it moves. Tip cleaner lever moves. Went a full revolution with that. Let's see. Ooh, the knob is tight. I don't know if it's, there we go. All the way closed or all the way opened. It was all the way closed. Okay, that's gonna work. It's tight though. it is definitely snug. Let's see about the check valve down in here.
Well, this isn't real good, but it's better than ours.
Inside the pump tube looks good. The check valve looks horrible. I'll get the camera again and take a peek at that. That check valve is bad, and that's probably the reason that this pump, or that this lantern got hung in the rafters of a garage somewhere, or a barn, because it looks like somebody's been trying to get the check valve out of there. Leo, calm down, buddy.
You're getting carried away on that.
Yeah. He's like, I got to get this destroyed immediately. Yeah, we'll plug this thing back in and I'll show a shot of that, because that is as bad a shape of a check valve as I've ever seen. You can definitely tell somebody's been in there trying to get that check valve out of there. There we go. Go back to video, start recording. You can definitely see that somebody has had a screwdriver on that and they've got it all chewed up. So I may have to run back home and get my check valve tool to get that out of there. And fortunately, I do have extra check valves that should be exactly the same as this, but somebody definitely has been hard on that one. So I might take a break, run home and get my check valve tool and come back out to continue this project. All right, I'm back. I got my toolbox with my check valve removal tool. I should just always bring that when I come out here to work on a lantern. I always end up needing something out of it. That's where I got all my spare parts put away. We're gonna see if we can get this check valve out of there. I've got a couple different check valves in there, so if we can get this one out, I've got one. Even if it's not exactly the same, I've got one that'll go in there and work.
It looks pretty rough.
Yeah, they've definitely been in there with a screwdriver trying to get that out, and I'm guessing that's the reason that this lantern quit getting used. It probably couldn't pump it up anymore, so they just put it away. Whew, that slides down in there, but when it goes in, it is not a very positive click going in there. They really got that rounded off, but hopefully
That's the best bet there is right there.
Hopefully by the time we get that on there, and I'll snug up this nut on there a little bit so it can't skip back out of the check valve. You gotta be careful, it's going into brass that's already a chewed up mess, so hopefully that'll get it out of there. Probably wouldn't have hurt to have lantern vise on here, but I think I can get some leverage on it. It came loose. I was beginning to wonder. That was pretty snug, and it felt like it was trying to strip that valve out, even check valve, more than it already was. It did break loose and come out of there. Yeah, now that I got it out, I can get it right in front of the camera and you can see it. It is in bad shape. Ooh, I can't even get that back unthreaded off of there now. Okay.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. Somebody was definitely in there with a screwdriver trying to get that one out of there and just mangled it up. It's kind of oily too. I don't know what that's from, but and the check valve definitely is stuck, but I don't even care. I'm not going to reuse that. I've got other check valves in here. I hope I've got one with the large internal threads on it so I can use the same shutoff. It's like a little needle and seat that goes down in there on a stem. So I'd like to have one with a large diameter inside thread so I could use that same needle and seat. But if I don't have one, oh, you know what? That is different. That's a different style check valve than, huh. Let me look at my other ones I've got in here. And I am, yeah, all the check valves that I have got in here are how the heck did that get stuck in? Are this style check valve, and this one definitely is very different. I'm gonna have to set them down here and bring the camera around this side so you can see it. But this one definitely is a very different check valve. This is the one I just took out of there.
Bigger around too.
This is the style that I've got several of in there. So I am gonna have to try to reuse this poor mangled up old check valve because I don't have another one like that, and we don't have a parts lantern that is this vintage lantern, so I am gonna have to try to get that going and put it back in there. So this ought to be fun. The good thing is the check valve being stuck is not a big deal. You can unstick a check valve pretty easily if we can get it to seal and hold some pressure in there. Even if it leaks by a little bit, if it holds enough to get it to pump up.
There's some WD right down on that.
Yeah, we might need some. It's a mess. You have to get a piece of wire to fish through from this side. Okay, I'll run a piece of wire down through here and see if you can get that check valve. There we go. Just bumped it and it started moving. It's amazing how these check valves can be barely stuck, but they will not work at all. So I guess put that check valve back in my bag of parts. We're gonna have to try to get this poor mangled up old thing to thread back in there. The good news is the threads are only screwed up in the direction of, or not the threads, the slot's only screwed up in the direction to remove it, not in the direction to install it. So they were trying to get it out and kept skipping out of it, but the sides for putting it back in are good and flat. I'll put a little bit of WD-40 on this and we'll put it back in there and see if we can get it to work. Well, it doesn't check, that's for sure. It is just blowing right through there. Even with the check valve seated in the position where it should be shut, it is just letting the air blow right through it. That's a little better. It definitely is moving around, but it does not seem like it's seating very well. Yeah, I shouldn't be able to just, with that push down, I should not be able to just blow air through there like that. It's got zero resistance at all. I'm gonna pause the camera for a minute. I'm gonna get after it with some brake parts cleaner, some more WD-40. Stuff doesn't taste good at all. And see if I can get that check valve to start checking. That's better. It's leaking by just a little bit, but not nearly like it was. That is almost holding. Tastes terrible. I think I will give that a try. I mean, I don't have much choice. Before, you blew through it and it was like there was no resistance at all whatsoever. At least now, it's barely letting any through. A couple of times when I blew on it, it didn't let any pass through. So that may be
Get some fuel in there, it might help it.
good enough to make it work. The way the inside of that fount looks, I don't know if the pickup tube or anything is going to work on this anyway, so I probably will just put some fuel in it and try it out. And if it works and burns and everything on it works, then I'm definitely going to have to in the future clean this out really good, because there's, like I said, there's not loose rust floating around the bottom, but there's just nasty looking rust on the sides and the bottom, so it needs to have some 1/4-inch nuts put in there and shake it around for a while, knock all the rust off of everything, and then flush it out good. If it turns out to be a working lantern, which I'm guessing it probably will. It may take a little work, but I'm guessing we can get it going. We don't have a 220C yet in our lineup, so it's kind of nice that this one turned out to be a 220C. The one that I bought thinking it was a 220C was a 220BX model, so like a crossover model.
Would it be newer than this one then?
It would be, it's also 1943,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what month. But I think it was. I think it's when they were switching over to from the B to the C models. Well, we might as well see if we can put this back together and get it to pump any pressure. If any air passes through it, because if it doesn't, I may have to tear the whole thing apart to get the pickup tube out and clean that out. Well, I do not have a correct screw in there. I thought for sure I did, but and I've used up all my spare 3-piece caps, so unless there's one down the bottom of here maybe somewhere, but I got a spare 3-piece cap, but this goes on a different lantern. I don't want to take it apart to put on here, so we'll just put it back together the way it is. It doesn't have to have that screw on there to see if it'll work. The leather looks pretty darn good. Very usable anyway. We'll spread it out just a little bit. Put this back together and we'll see if this will pump up any pressure. See if it passes any fuel. Or passes any air. Before we put any fuel in it, we'll pump it up. See if we can hear it hissing. See if it quits when we turn the tip cleaner, all that good stuff. If all that works, typically you're usually gonna light right up. Get in there. Some of these that have the threaded pump tube have kind of a sharp edge on there, and it wants to catch the leather. It makes it more difficult to get the leather back in there. Yeah. Feels like it's pumping. The gasket that is in that 3-piece cap is not a correct gasket, but it looks pretty good. I think it'll work. Well, it's either, that pump is either holding or it's not building pressure, one of the two. Let's see if we hear anything when I crack this valve open. Yep. Let's turn the tip cleaner. Quit hissing.
I'll be darned.
Started hissing again. So we may be okay here. Ooh, that knob turns hard. I kind of hate to mess with them when that packing's not leaking, but man, as hard as that turns, I think I'm gonna back that packing off just a little bit. I might even actually take it clear out, far enough to get in there with some WD-40. Well, that didn't seem very tight for as tight as that is, so I think I will back this out. And try to get in there with some penetrating oil. Lube that up a little bit.
Dip it in that mystery oil or something.
Ooh. The packing is stuck inside of there.
Might want to just squirt something in there.
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't want to come out, and I don't want to screw that packing up and then have it leak, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of penetrating oil on there, work this in and out a couple times. Ooh, that made a big difference already.
Yeah.
Big difference. It was so tight I could barely even turn it. Now that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to be happy with that. I don't want to screw it up and make it worse than it already is. I don't have any more of the packings for those, so if I destroy that packing, then I'm going to have to get new ones ordered and wait for it before I can see if we can get this thing to go. Now that's still tight, but that's significantly better than it was. Let's see here, I'll loosen that back up a little bit. Put a little WD-40 on there and run it in and out too, see if that helps any. It won't hurt it, that's for sure. But there we go. That's better. Some of them just work hard too. Some of them are very loose and some of them always turn hard, it seems like. Just go snug with that. Yeah, if it's loose enough I can turn it anyway. It might get better with some use, but it definitely is snug. But I think if I leave the packing any looser, it's going to leak fuel around there. So we'll start there anyway. We know that it pumps up. We know that valve is opening and closing. It's passing air. Get back here, brown towel. Let's wipe this thing down a little bit. Give her a little bit of WD-40. There is a lot of bare metal showing on this fount, so I'll keep it oiled up with WD-40 pretty good when it's out in my garage at home, so it doesn't rust any more than it already is. Because I probably won't get carried away with cleaning this up. Everyone that watches my channel knows I like my things to look like they're 100 years old. I don't get carried away on cleaning stuff up too much. I am gonna grab, I saw there's some Scotch-Brite over here, and just knock some of the loose rust off all these parts. I should have done that before I wiped the fount down. Now all the rust dust is going right down on that WD-40 on there and gonna stick to the fount.
It'll shine out.
I like to do everything in reverse order sometimes. This way I get to clean the fount twice.
It needs it.
If we make it burn one of these days, I'm gonna have to clean the inside of this fount. It definitely is crusty enough that it deserves to be cleaned up. There's a lot of loose rust, even just, I mean, everything's got loose, flaky rust on it. It's definitely been
Sitting for a long time not used.
hanging up in that barn where he found it for a lot of years, I'm guessing.
Well, 80 years old.
That will do to see if it's even gonna work or not. I'm always pretty hopeful once you get air to pass through there and the tip cleaner stops the air and then open it up and it starts again. 9 times out of 10 they fire right up then.
Looks good already.
I can see some debris inside the collar there. That's not a great sign. That leads me to believe that there's a fair chance that there could be spider webs and stuff up inside of that air tube.
Well,
It probably wouldn't hurt just to pull that apart. Have a look at it quick. That's not the right wrench. There we go. Get it apart, you got to take the generator out. So when we got the generator out, we might as well go ahead, clean that up too. I just realized, and I think this may be the first one of these I've seen. Let me get it out of here so you can see it. I think that is a steel generator. Sure looks like it anyway.
yeah. Yeah, sure does.
What are the chances that screw just popped right loose? I put that little stubby screwdriver on there and it came right loose. This is the worst piece on the whole lantern, trying to get a screwdriver into that screw. I wonder how badly stuck that's going to be. Ooh, pretty badly stuck. Lots of times you can just grab them and spin them right out of there. This is probably a 2-piece air tube. The bottom piece threads in from the bottom, the top piece threads in from the top. They come together in the middle and the set screw tightens down to hold them both in place. But I don't know That seems awfully tight in there for some reason. We're either going to have to get the vise out, or we're going to have to just try it out. And if it doesn't burn right, then we'll have to tear it apart more. I guess it doesn't take much to set up the vise, and we can see if we can get it apart. We already got the generator out. We can clean that, so we might as well do it. Snug this up a little bit to hold that in place, and we'll see if we can get that to thread out of there or not. Now, I'll put the old brown towel over the top of there where I'm going to be grabbing it with the pliers so we don't mar anything up with the pliers here. See if we can get this to thread out of here. Wow, that is incredibly snug for some reason. That's a part that I've never had very much trouble getting to come out of there. Well, in the interest of not breaking it, I'm going to heat that up just a little bit. If I can't get it to come loose after I heat it up just a little bit here, I'm just going to put it all back together and try it. Because it's not worth breaking something on there to me at this point. There we go. It was just too cold. That still is turning hard. That's crazy. I've never had one that difficult to get the air tube to thread out of there, but I guess there's a first time for everything. I'm seeing threads, so it's not just spinning, it's threading out. But it is pretty growed right in there for some reason. I didn't think that that was going to be the difficult part of this project. All I want to do is look and see if there's spiders living in there or not. Or even if there's ones being dead in there. I see now that it is not a two-piece air tube either. It's all one piece, all threading out of there together. Huh. Well, it looks like maybe that was a good idea. There's spider webs literally hanging out of the bottom of it. Yeah. And I'll get the flashlight and shine on it. It's packed full of stuff.
I'll get some air going.
It is packed full in there. So that makes me feel a little bit better about getting it out of there. Now this piece of wire that I want to use is stuck underneath the lantern vise. See if we can. If you take a piece of wire, sometimes you can fish it and get it right down there and push it around the bend and out the bottom. And this wire is long enough. It's going to reach all the way through there, so I'm going to take a pair of pliers and bend a tiny little hook on the end of it so that as I pull it through there, it will hopefully grab a hold of whatever's inside of there and pull it right out of there.
Nothing.
Well, I can see it. I can see it right there, so I know there's something in there. My hook didn't grab it though, that's for sure. There, we pulled some chunks of stuff out. There's all kinds of stuff. There's spider pieces coming out of there right now.
Spider carcasses.
Alright, I'm gonna hit this with some carb cleaner and then the blowgun here. As bad as that was, I wonder if I could get, these burner caps are rough. They are just flaking apart.
I just blow them.
I blew air backwards up through them.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to try to get those apart. Sometimes they're loose enough you can just grab them and thread them out of there, but these are tight and I don't want to break those poor things because they already look crumbly.
Screen looks pretty good.
Yeah, the screens on them look fine. I blew air back in through those. I blew air down through that tube. Since we're this far already and I know there's junk in there, I might as well see if we can get this apart and clean that out. I know that there's debris in between the bottom of this cage and the top of the fount. I really need to custom bend a wrench to fit down in here on these.
Is that ½ inch?
9/16.
I have a ½ inch one then. Probably couldn't find it.
There we go. I got it in there. It's just hard to reach in there, and then every time you try to turn it, you're hitting one of the pieces of the burner cage here. Okay, we're about to customize a wrench here so I can get in there. I don't want to drag the whole torque setup out. I'll heat it up here and then take it over to the vise to bend it. Alright, you hold on to this. I'll get ready so that I can get over there before the heat all gets out of it. Okay. Look at that. I can come in from, well, however I do this, my hand's right in the way. There we go. Come in now and you can slide that right in there. Custom Deluxe.
Bench might be hot, so don't grab it.
Yeah, it's not too hot clear at this end where I'm holding it. But I'm not going to go quench it in water. I don't want it to get brittle, so I'll just get that loosened up a little bit more here, and then I'll just set it aside here on the welding bench and let it come back down to room temperature. There we go. Now, like I was saying, this doesn't even really have to come apart, but we already got it tore down this far, so we might as well.
And the blowgun's right there, so.
Get all the debris out of there. Let's see how hard this is going to be to get apart now. Sometimes getting this to thread out of the fount is the part that can be pretty tough. I like to just put my adjustable wrench right over the body of the valve, get it down on there to where it's seated good. That's a round-sided valve, so they don't fit wonderfully on there, but you get it on there the best you can, and then you have to get like a long screwdriver or something that you can put through the hole in the top of the wrench to get some leverage and try to thread that out of there. Sometimes they come easily and sometimes they do not, but this one was not too bad. That's pretty crazy that the air tube fought that hard, but the valve assembly popped right loose. We're getting to the point where we got about half the tools we own out here on the bench now too.
I might as well blow out that air tube over there.
So there's your
Or the fuel tube, I mean.
valve assembly. Sometimes that valve unthreads off of here. Sometimes the whole piece threads out of the fount in one piece. You just take it apart and see what you get. You know, sometimes you start doing something like this and you get what people refer to as a case of the might as wells. Because I got this tore apart so far now, I might as well thread that valve out of there and clean that fount out. There's no sense in not doing it when I'm already this far tore apart.
That's what I feel like.
This has no, the odd ones are square. This has a splined shaft. That's what the normal ones are. Some of them that are weird, I think the B model ones have a square shaft on there. Well, right here, we might as well do it. Let's see if this will thread out of here. I do the same thing I do on that top piece. Just get the wrench on there, get something you can stick through the wrench, and oh, that wasn't too bad either. Not too bad at all. This has just become an incidental full teardown on this lantern, but we can see now exactly what kind of shape that pickup tube's in. Looks about like it looked when I stuck the camera in there. But now that we got that out, I can clean that up. And yeah, that was a mess. I'll go ahead and get this cleaned up. We'll do a little cleaning, pause the camera, and then we'll come back once we got stuff cleaned up a little bit and show you the progress here. While we're this far tore apart, there's no sense. Dad was just cleaning that up. It was a mess. There's no sense in not taking it apart, cleaning it out right. We're already right here. You can set it on the corner of the table where this part can rest against the table. I can get my hand on it good. You get a wrench on here. Oh, that was easy. Easy peasy. And that will thread apart. And then inside of here, when you crack your valve open, this is what actually moves up and down in there for where you open it a quarter turn. So when you open it a quarter turn to light, this will actually be pushed down, and there's a little tip that comes out the bottom, and it keeps that plugged so that it draws vapors in through here. The vapors come down to the bottom, and this hole is not completely tight. Lets just a little bit of the fuel through, and then it all comes up the stem, and that's how you get your fuel mixture that's mostly air for lighting it, so it doesn't flood so easily. And then when you open the valve all the way, this goes from being pushed down to up, and it plugs off that hole, opens up that hole, and lets it draw your raw fuel in.
Yep.
So since we're right here, there's perfect time to take out a part. I can see daylight through there, so it's actually nice and clean, but I'm going to go ahead and run a wire through there. Okay. I took this stem out of the inside of this. I cleaned it all up, sprayed a bunch of carb cleaner through it. I'm not worried about making it look brand new. I just want it to be clean and not plugged up. So I sprayed a bunch of carb cleaner through it, blew it out with a blowgun.
I cleaned that tip off because it had rubles on it.
When you got it already apart, it's a good idea to just give that spring just a little stretch. Sometimes a lantern that surges all the time is because that spring's a little worn, and if you take it all apart and just stretch that spring just a little bit, it'll start working right. There's a dang piece of fuzz on there. There we go, I got it. That I don't want to have end up inside of there plugging something up. So when you already got it apart, it doesn't hurt to just go ahead and gently stretch that spring just a little bit. And this threads back into there. I guess while I got this apart, I should spray a little bit of carb cleaner through that. Might as well flush everything out since I got it all tore apart here. Blew a chunk of something out of there, so it was a good idea to do that.
Yep, heard it come out.
All right. I'll thread this back together. And Dad's cleaning up that lid, the old vent off there. It was pretty nasty, so he's starting scrubbing on that, and I'm going to start putting the rest of this back together here. Okay, well, I'm definitely better with lanterns than I am with technology, because I was sitting here talking to a camera with a dead battery while I was putting this back together, and finally looked up and realized that it wasn't recording anymore. So I'm not exactly sure how much, if any, of putting this back together I got. But I threaded the valve back in to the fount. We cleaned that all out. sprayed carburetor cleaner through it, blew the air gun through it, sprayed carburetor cleaner through the eccentric block up there where the tip cleaner eccentric is. We sprayed through that. All that stuff's cleaned out good. I had the fount. Yeah, that part was recorded. I didn't miss that. Flushed the fount out good. Got it nice and clean. So I think the only part you missed was threading this part with the pickup tube back down into the fount, and then this part with your tip cleaner eccentric block back into there. We got that all threaded back together. I tightened down the jam nut. I was so excited about using my new wrench, and it wasn't even recording when I was using it, but it needs snugged up a little bit more.
That'll work.
It doesn't have to be super tight. You get it tight enough to where when you turn like that, the cage doesn't wiggle around down there, and that is good enough. So let's get the rest of this put back together and see if this thing's gonna work or not. It's definitely a good thing we took it apart. There was all kinds of animal nests and stuff inside of there. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the lantern vise now. I don't need the vise to get that put back together. All right, let's finish putting this together. Finish threading the burner back in there, and then gotta get this little keeper screw back in there. I don't know why. There we go. They never made a little slot so that you could get a screwdriver straight in there. I almost feel like if one of the lighting holes were lined up with it, you could get a screwdriver in through the lighting hole. But they never did it that way. Now I was showing this has got a steel generator, which I think was a World War II era thing. The tip cleaner rod inside looks good, but they were rationing brass more than they were rationing steel. So I'm pretty sure that in some of the wartime stuff they had steel generators in them, which means this probably is the original generator to this lantern. I can see daylight through the orifice tip, and I can see through there just fine. This has spring inside of it, and then that cardboard looking tube. I don't know what that's actually made out of.
Asbestos, probably.
Probably. The generator looks spotless inside. I've never dealt with a steel one before, but the spring looks pretty good. Whatever that tube is not bad. We can put this whole generator back together. It goes in the wide end of the spring first. Then get my tip. Like I said, I can see daylight through that. It's good and clean. So you thread the tip back on there. Snug it up. It doesn't have to be very tight, just snug. I am gonna run a piece of Scotch-Brite over the outside of this tip cleaner, being careful not to get the actual wire on the end of it. Just get the stem of it and knock all the crusties off of there, and you gently thread that back right through the middle of that spring that's going through the middle of the generator. Now I've showed this before, but I'll show it to you again. To get the generator back in there, you got to crank that little lever up so that the hole is exposed there, so that you can get the little hook. That little hook right there on the end of that rod goes into this little hole, so you got to stick the generator up into the air tube and then get that right in that hole. Slide the generator down, slide the nut down on there. I usually don't go aggressively tight with that, but this being steel generator, I don't know. I guess it's still going down onto a brass fitting, so I'll just snug it up, and if it leaks, then I'll come back and go a little tighter with it. I'll just go about the same as what I usually do. I want to put this on there and make sure that the valve is cranked all the way shut. And then I want to line it back up so that when it's in the closed position, my arrow's pointing up. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but that's the way that I like to have it on my lanterns. I assume that's the kind of little details that from the factory they probably back then always made sure that the arrow was pointing straight up when it was closed. All right, we're close to seeing if we can make this thing go or not. The wind's picking up. It's supposed to storm outside this afternoon. Okay, well, let's see. I'm gonna put the pump back together, pump it up and make sure it's still passing some air, and then we're gonna put fuel in this, tie some mantles on it, and see if this thing will light up. I'll just put my finger over the hole here and give it a few pumps. Turn the sip cleaner lever down, and I hear it hissing when I open the valve. It definitely had air pressure build up in there. Now I got to use some more Dad's Coleman fuel here. That should be way more than plenty. This is a steel cap on there too. That just dawned on me. Yep. They always had brass or bronze or something like that on the caps, and this is a steel cap on here, so that is the correct cap for that lantern. It's not leaking past the check valve, so that poor boogered up old check valve's holding.
That's good.
And it's not leaking any fuel around the threads on the cap, so that gasket on there is working. Let's tie a couple mantles on here and see if this thing will light up or not. Okay, we got mantles on there. I can throw these strings on the floor now because Leo stayed home when I went home to get the toolbox. He ran in the house and laid down and acted like he was not too much interested in coming back out, so I left him at home. So So now I can throw those strings on the floor for Dad to sweep up next time he sweeps.
Oh, next time Leo comes out, they'll still be there.
Probably. Alright, let's burn in these mantles and see if this old girl will light up. I'm pretty confident that it's just going to take right off for us. It is pretty cool that I just realized that that was a steel cap.
Now even the red caps are brass, aren't they?
I don't know if they are underneath the paint. I don't know if the painted ones are brass underneath the paint all the time or not, but I know typically they are a brass cap. Let's see here.
That's still kind of smeared up, but I think you need to use it for a while.
This, I thought that was a crack, and I even showed it earlier.
Yeah.
It's
just a flaw in there.
Yeah, it's just a line, like a ridge. It's not a crack.
It made me nervous.
It's a scratch maybe or something even, but I can run my fingernail across the inside of it and there's nothing there. But you ought to be able to hear that. I can run my thumbnail on the outside.
You can see Coleman in it. It's kind of a ghost figure, but it's there.
Yeah. I don't know if the camera will pick that up good, but it's got a nice straight line green Coleman Pyrex. Coleman on the front, Pyrex on the reverse, and that is correct for this time period. So I think we have got a 100% complete lantern that is kind of a family piece. They're not really family, but they have been all my life. So to me, it feels like it's a family piece. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
Plus the price was right on it. You can't beat free. Let's see if this old girl will light up here, and then we'll put it the rest of the way back together.
Take a while to get some gas up through there.
Yep, everything's been blown out with the blowgun.
There she goes.
Nice and bright. Yep. It should. Everything's been cleaned out.
That is wonderful.
Open that up all the way. Yeah, it's nice and bright. I like that. I'm going to turn the tip cleaner one time.
That's really nice. That's nice.
Give it a few more pumps here and then we'll put it the rest of the way back together. Dang, it is nice and bright.
Yes, it is. We're going to do a lot of camping this year. We're going to use all these lanterns we're going to use.
That's the truth. Okay, let's set this globe gently back down on there. I'm going to put the Coleman so it's over the tip cleaner lever there.
You can read the Pyrex real good on the back here.
Here's the top.
So pretty
and then
nice.
I've got a new style nut, but it is a Coleman style ball nut, but it's for a newer lantern, but at least it'll thread all the way down on there like it's supposed to. There you go. Back up and running.
Look at that one.
For the first time in who knows how long. Been hanging up in the rafters of a barn for years and years.
Look at that one.
Yeah, that's a old brass nut. That one's been through the ringer, got plier marks all over it.
It's been used hard.
All right, that is burning good. I like it. I'm happy with that.
Yes.
Normally I'd say I would take it home tonight and light it up outside tonight, but it's supposed to be
Stormy.
borderline hurricanes around here, and hurricanes are bad when you're in Iowa, but
Yeah.
there's chances of tornadoes, all kinds of bad weather coming this evening, so I probably won't light it up at home tonight. So this will be the end of the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, do so. Hit the like button. The best thing you can do if you want to support our channel is just let those ads play when they come up. every video I go in and I edit out about half the amount of ads that it wants to put in them. So I'm trying to not give you a ton of ads to watch, but if you want to help, if you like our videos, you want to help support us a little bit, just let those ads run. It really does help out. Leave a like, leave a comment. YouTube likes it when you leave comments, and it pushes my videos farther up for more people to be able to discover them. So thanks for watching. Come on back next week, folks. We'll have a video of something here for you to watch.
That is nice. I love the Coleman on the glass.
Yeah, that lights up really good. I hope it shows on the camera good. And one more in our lineup now. Now we've got everything. I think we've got every lantern in the 200 or the 220, 228 series from start to finish. I think we've got one of each model now.
Thank you, Dennis.